Welcome into the Motor Mouse, episode 7. I am Ryan Preece. That's Ken Willis. And hey, Ken, if you need some fill dirt, I got a good place you can get some where it's not being used for the rest of the year.
You can always use some dirt. You just never know when. Sooner or later, you don't get rid of dirt. You're
just
gonna
got to
need
ship.
it. And yeah,
you just got to pay for
but tell me,
shipping.
where would I find some?
Well, you just got to pay for it to be trucked in from some little town there on the Tennessee-Virginia border. But yeah, it only gets used once a year. That's a good part about it. So,
So do they? At Daytona, they just bring in literally tons of dirt for the Supercross track. They do that after speed weekends, and they bring in the dirt. They put it on that grass between the pit road and the grandstands, or the front stretch, tri-oval. And I guess I've never really followed the procedure afterwards. Of course, they have to remove the dirt and grow the grass back out. And I guess they just take the dirt back to where it came from, is my thinking. And maybe they do the same thing with Bristol, or they just have a big sale,
Yeah, big recycling.
Free dirt, come get it.
That's recycling there. All jokes aside, man, it was another Bristol Dirt race, and I thought quite the appropriate finish. We get the ending under caution. I'm pretty sure whoever was driving the pace truck yesterday had the most laps, led by a lot. What were your initial thoughts from a third trip around the dirt at Bristol?
I looked at pictures from the previous two, and they were just talking about track conditions, and they showed pictures from 2 years ago and last year. A lot more dirt got moved out of the way this year, it appeared. It looked like they were racing on concrete again toward the final stage. They had that groove worn in so much that you didn't see a whole lot of dirt, a whole lot of dust. I guess we could call it a dust race. But I was sad that we didn't get to see, like we had last year. I was kind of upset that we didn't get to see a little bumper car there coming off turn 4 at the end, because I think Reddick was going to try something, and Bell was going to have to do something to counter it. But, that last caution screwed us up. It kept coming at worse times. But that's when they come, at the worst time.
Well, and I'm going to write a column today. I've got a lot of beefs, and we're going to hear them all or read them all on print this week. But one of mine.
I got time.
Yeah, how much time you got? One of mine, and I don't know if you noticed this too. The inconsistency of caution flags yesterday. What warrants a caution? What doesn't? Kyle Larson can spin onto the apron, and that's a caution. Kyle Busch spins onto pit road, and that's a caution. But Ryan Blaney spinning in the middle of turn 1 on a restart is not a caution. Could you make heads or tails of that yesterday?
It seemed to me that if a car spun and there was no real ensuing contact, and he spun alone and was able to quickly maintain any kind of forward momentum, they didn't throw a caution. But that one where Kyle spun right there near the entrance of the pit and just got right going again, I don't know. Maybe the guy in charge of the yellow button is not looking at times. Who knows? But the rhyme or reason can escape you at times. But I'm sure they would have an answer for you if you dare to ask.
Yeah, we could. I could go on and on about gripes. So let's move on to a little bit of what happened on the track. Richmond gave us the gift that was J.J. Yaley versus Denny Hamlin. This week it's Ryan Preece versus Kyle Larson. I don't know who had that on their bingo card. yeah. That one. The odds on that one were pretty long. But what do you think about all of that? It did look like Larson. I understand why Ryan was mad. I mean, that first one was pretty blatant. I don't know if that was just a spotter miscommunication on Larson's part or what, but what'd you think about the whole thing and who was in the right and who was in the wrong there?
Ryan Preece got some airtime, so there's good news. And I started looking up that whole Stewart-Haas organization this year. Take away Kevin Harvick, and boy, they have dropped anchor. They got to find something. But yeah, I mean, I jokingly, on our NASCAR page this week, kind of jokingly mentioned that I'm not even sure Kyle Larson had ever met Ryan Preece before. Might not see him again until at least Labor Day. He didn't run in those circles, so to speak. So yeah, at least you just never know. I mean, like who would have had J.J. Yaley and Denny Hamlin? I mean, eventually these front runners are going to find themselves having to work their way up through the pack where they're going to run into, the guys who are not front runners. And as Darrell Waltrip once famously said, if you run with the squirrels, you're going to get your nuts cracked every now and then. So
that's a good one. I hadn't heard that one from DW yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned Stewart-Haas. We'll say they looked pretty good last night. I mean, Briscoe was up there. Almirola got up there late. And it was funny, as you mentioned, that it looked more like a concrete track. And as the race went on, I thought the guys that are usually good at Bristol, not necessarily dirt, just like Ricky Stenhouse, for instance, is a really good Bristol driver. And at the end of the race, there he is by the time the dirt all wore off. So I don't know if that was a correlation or not.
That's, there's little incremental steps. Take away the Daytona win, which, he won Daytona, which is obviously makes that team's year. But beyond that, incrementally, they seem to be picking up a few spots here and there that they weren't picking up in years past. So, and everybody pulls for Ricky. Everybody likes Ricky.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, moving on to concrete, where we belong, some would say. And to Martinsville, a track that's been known to produce its share of feuds and beefs over the years, right? This is a track that I think if you think about Martinsville last year, the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is the Hail Melon, right? But I think what that hides a little bit is the fact that we had a couple of kind of lackluster Martinsville races before that. Do you think that's any better? Does the short track stuff that they've been doing at Phoenix and that kind of thing have you encouraged that may improve this year?
I thought we had determined that they had fixed the short track package. Have we not?
Okay. The jury's still out for me.
You know what? we're always just one clunker away from our package being disassembled. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I hope so. I mean, there's some guys out there that really need to, pick up the pace a little bit. After this week at Martinsville, that'll be the 9th race, which is officially 1/4 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
And so, I guess if you're not beginning to be concerned about bad trends, I think you might start to after the first quarter. Because if you're down 17-0 after the first quarter, and a few of these teams are, it's time to maybe draw up a few more ball plays.
Yeah, absolutely. Just from a numbers and trend standpoint, Logano and Blaney are the top two in average finish over the last 6 races there. So good chance for those two guys. Of course, you think Martinsville, I think with Jimmy Johnson now gone from full-time competition, I think at least I immediately think of Denny Hamlin in terms of active drivers. So Truex has obviously been a force here of late. Byron will be good. Larson started to figure it out a little bit. Christopher Bell won this race last fall. Who do you like? Who are you looking at?
Ooh, I started looking at the record of some guys at Martinsville, and some guys just have not been good there at all.
No.
Tyler Reddick surprised me. Of course, he's with a different team now.
Well, it's hard to run the outside there unless you're Ross Chastain,
That's right, at the very outside. I think Ross is going to give it a run, but he's going to keep, without being on the wall. I think he keeps sniffing around. I mean, he got shuffled out, and I think he wrecked late, or he was one of the spins there at the end at Bristol. But I think it's time for him to get a win, maybe, or at least a top 3, or lead some laps. But Logano is going to be good too. But I don't know. Let me go with Ross the boss, just for the hell of it.
All right. I really like the way that those Gibbs cars ran at Richmond. I know it's a different track, but it's kind of a similar package. And like I said, this is a big opportunity for Martin Truex, I think, who kind of had one stolen from him at Richmond. If they don't get that late yellow, I think he goes on to win that race. And of course, like I said, my official pick is going to be Denny until further notice at Richmond. So with that, Ken and I are going to go get the shovels out. We got some dirt to unload off of this truck here in just a little bit.
Hurricane season, you're about to enter. It won't be long before you enter your first hurricane season down here, so you might want to be filling up some sandbags just to keep them around. They always make a good doorstop if you don't need them for anything else.
Hey, the second week I was here, I went through a hurricane, so I'm already indoctrinated in, man. I'm ready to go.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. We'll pray against hurricanes, and we'll start building the dirt wall anyway. He's Ken Willis. I'm Ryan Preece. Thanks for viewing, and we'll see you next week.
you.